fast so we can get out and enjoy the last few hours of a very warm day. Let's see, call to order. So compliance with official notification. We have met compliance with official notification. Roll call, please.
Lynn Albrecht.
Here.
Dick Schumacher.
Here.
Diana Smith.
Here.
I'm here. Brooke Taylor.
Here.
Nick Olson. Here. Welcome. And President Olson.
Yes, welcome, Nick. Here. This meeting is a meeting of the Board of Education held in public for the purpose of conducting the school district's business and is not to be considered a public community meeting. There is a time for comments by members of the public during the meeting as indicated on the agenda. Members of the public wishing to address the board on any of the topics included on tonight's agenda may do so by signing up on the public comment sign-up sheet, which was outside the entrance prior to the start of the meeting. The board requests refraining from making any comments involving personally identifiable information about students, staff, or administration. Comments should be respectful, focused on the items being considered by the board, and will be restricted to 3 minutes in length. So first on the agenda tonight, are there any comments by members of the public? No. Okay, thank you, Ann. Next up, our report from our superintendent.
Okay, I have a handful of items. I'm going to start with our school board week. So the state of Wisconsin recognizes October 1st to the 7th of this year as Wisconsin School Board Week. So I want to thank all of you for serving on our school board. And I want to welcome Dick as our new member and being here for the first time tonight. You guys have some thank you gifts that we wanted to share with you. But wanted to make sure everybody recognizes that. So thanks for being a part of our board and our school district and being here tonight.
Thanks. Thank you.
I'm going to go backwards. Actually, we have our student reps are scheduled to start joining us again. However, Autumn is at a golf sectional meet tonight. So she's hoping to join us next week. So that one we'll put on pause until next week. And we've got two principals here. We have one typo on the agenda. So we're going to have Rick Flaherty from Duluth-Superior Elementary give us our first update. Welcome, Rick.
Get old, tired. Bringing my bags. I'm not staying.
You're out of here when it's done. All right.
And it's challenging to go so early in the year. We have had a nice start to the school year, but I'll give you just a brief update for Duluth-Superior Elementary. First of all, some celebrations, families and staff, and Michelle's here too. She can jump in if you want. We know that we have some things coming up with the closure at the end of this school year, but to everyone's credit, we're getting off to a good start to the school year and focusing on having a positive year. There have been lots of questions, of course, but nothing that haven't been able to talk through, and it's gone pretty well to this point. I think that'll change over time, and stress levels will increase. But the nice thing about our building is we know that we all have to make a transition. And I guess in a way, that does make it a little bit easier. Everyone knows it is going to happen. So I think that's a positive thing. We've got some great helping students. One thing I've noticed this year is we've got some great kids at the upper levels that are super helpers, and we need it. We've got a kindergarten class of 17, 13 of those are boys, and 4 girls, 4 very strong girls and big leaders, and lots of energy with all those boys in that class. We have some 5th graders that have stepped up, and a couple in particular, they're there in the mornings and helping, and it makes a big difference. One of our teachers, Nikki Damagala, is working to get a mentoring program up and running in the building. This has been something that has taken place at Duluth-Superior in the past, and she's helping to keep that going and to have some extra support from some community members and such with some kids that would benefit from a little extra guidance, I guess. Challenges, I've already mentioned this. The it's gotten off to a good start, but there is that unknown and just trying to figure out what things are going to look like. So that will change. And I think we'll see different challenges throughout the course of the year. But right now, that's what we have two major goals at Lake Superior this year. Thanks to Kate and Crystal, who took us through the continuous improvement process this summer as they do each year. But it is really caused us to hone in and have some very distinct plans that we have in our 30, 90, and 120 day or through the course of the school year. We do plan to we'd like to see all of our kids increase in their reading and math by 5% for each grading period. We use FastBridge to measure that. We'd also like to eliminate 100% of our kids from the high risk category in math. And we chose that goal. We want to see every kid at the no risk, of course, but with that high risk piece, we're small enough, we can name those specific kids and really come up with some plans to eliminate that. And if we can do that, set the kids on the right, give them some tools, they'll do some good things as they.
Hey, Rick, can you just say why you focused on math instead of reading on that goal?
Well,
Is it just because of
because we haven't concentrated as much on math and we recognize that there's a need for that. And there's we don't have there's no great big glaring issues in the building when we look at our data and we dig in, but we do have kids that have some risk and we want to try to eliminate that. Some things that we are doing, we're really focusing on goal setting with our students. Some of the teachers, we've done a lot of learning as a staff. We've talked about that. We're talking if the kids can own what they're doing, if they can understand where they're going, we think that there's an opportunity for them to see some significant growth again. So the kids are starting to talk about that. In earshot of our 4th and 5th grade classrooms from my office, and I hear them talking about the goals. What are our goals there? And they're starting to understand and grasp that concept of setting some goals, recognizing what some of the obstacles are and working past those. We're working on some peer observations again we talked about some partners. Michelle got a partner, everyone got a partner assigned this last week, and we're going to be doing some those visits and sharing with our colleagues and recognizing some of the great things going on and giving some feedback that might be helpful in classrooms, and then working on detailed lesson plans. And if we can do those things, those three, I think that we should be able to hit our goals for this school year. That's it. Short and sweet tonight. Any questions?
very comprehensive?
Thank you.
Thanks, Rick.
Let's have a nice.
Hi, thank you too. All right, Mr. Liebers from the middle school. Welcome.
Oh, hello. Okay, I did change the slide. I hope that I can get up there. Good afternoon. I'm going to get to some celebrations, but I wanted to start with some of the challenges, and the reason I wanted to start with that is because this summer, after going on a week's vacation, come back and start digging into our data, and I was a little frustrated and disappointed. Our data from the forward exam was not where I wanted it to be. And then I looked at our attendance data as well, and it was a little troubling to see. So I wanted to start with that as kind of like a framework for some of the decisions that we made this year. So we saw a decline in attendance and state testing over the last few years. We saw some increases in office referrals over the last few years. And so really got me thinking this summer, and then working with our admin team and shared leadership team about what are we going to do and how we're going to respond. So like Rick had mentioned, during our work this August with our shared leadership team, came up with some school goals based on that data point that we shared earlier. But this is alarming to me, and I think this is a problem nationwide in secondary schools, but 41.5% of our kids were chronically truant. Let that sink in for a second.
To make gains academically there.
It's really hard to do a lot of things, improve behavior outcomes, right? Improve testing scores, outcomes when nearly half our kids are out of the building. It's really tough. So we want to decrease that down to 25%, and I think that's too high, but we got to start somewhere. So we're doing that through some student connection opportunities as well, and I'll talk a little bit more about that in a second. And then academically, during this school year, 90% of our kids will make modest, typical, or aggressive growth on the ELA Bridge. And we'll look at that 3 times throughout the school year. We just got our benchmark in a couple weeks ago. So again, what are we going to do about this information? I really feel strongly in that our kids just aren't connecting to our school, to our teachers, to each other in a way that we need them to. So this year we started something new. We changed some procedures and expectations last year. This year we're really diving into the classroom. Smart Start is kind of like an hour-long homeroom. We took some wind time that we had built in and advisory time that we had built in the schedule, moved those to an hour-long. First hour homeroom, we're calling it Spartan Start. There they'll be able to do some activities, connect with their teachers in a smaller setting. We've got kids spread out more during that time frame. And then we can also do some work with our academic data. We've got some literacy strategies that we started implementing during that time as well. This past month, they worked on a literacy strategy, and each month they're going to work on a new strategy to help improve our reading scores. But the big thing to me is we got to have a landing place first hour for our kids to come into the building, get settled in, connect with their teacher. What's going on in my world that our teachers need to know about, so that we can really respond and make good plans for those kiddos. Also, we started BAR last year, building assets, reducing risks in 6th grade. This year we moved 6th, 8th, so we're a BAR school. And that is an organizational shift where our teams of teachers have a real good opportunity to meet, collaborate, and work with administration, counselors. Kristen Regas is our BAR coordinator, and she's fantastic at pulling teams together and putting some supports in place for kids and making a big difference. So there's a real opportunity now to really discuss how every one of our kids are doing 6 through 8. BAR also includes I-time activities, which really just supplement that connection piece. There's opportunities there for kids to connect with their teachers and each other. And we're really trying to build and improve our classroom climate and culture. And BAR is going to just be a really good organizational component to help us do that. And then communication, I think, is another really important and powerful tool. Each of our parents, I'm hopeful to get a phone call from their Spartan Start teacher this year. And we really want to just build relationships so that the conversation about the middle school can change. If we're driving that conversation, we're having positive interactions with our community that way. And we are off to a really good start with that. And then intramurals, I just wanted to mention it. We started intramurals about halfway through last year, and our kids just love it. That's another opportunity to build some connections to the building, right? So we have a variety of activities after school for our students, far more than we did in the past. So that's off to a really strong start. I mean, cross country started off right away, and I think we had 50 some kids and signed up for cross country. So that's really great. Questions, but I mean, when I came out for vacation and started looking at our data, connection was the word that kept coming back to me, and we needed to connect with our kids and connect with provide opportunities, a foundation built into our structure, built into our schedule to provide that opportunity for kids to connect with teachers. I think we're going to see some growth in our students. So that's where we're at so far this year. We're off to a pretty good start. Oh, I didn't see my celebrations. There they are. some of the things that have been reported to us, best start in years. And staff are saying that, but also families are talking about, they really appreciate the opportunity of getting a phone call and making a connection with their teachers. I think it's a huge celebration that we're a bar school. That's something that we can be proud of. That takes a lot of energy and an organization to make that happen, and a big commitment from the district and our staff. But also our staff this first month have been working extremely hard. You know, we've kind of implemented some new things the last couple of years, and that's a big shift, and they're really committed to this school year, making it great. So we're off to a really good start. So now we're questions.
how soon would you be able to have like data numbers on what you've implemented so far on how it's affecting truancy levels this year?
Yeah, so one of the things that we've got in place this year that's new, we've got a team of teachers and administrators working on truancy. Truancy is really a difficult task because of the amount of effort, time dedicated to solving an individual student's problem with truancy. It's parent meetings, it's sometimes working with the county to find out what's behind truancy. So I'm hopeful that mid-year we'll have an update to kind of see where we're at with that final tally, but 41.5%, we won't be close to that probably or the 25%. I think we'll probably be close to that by mid-year, the semester break. I mean, I'm hopeful that we're in better shape than that, but realistically speaking, I think it's going to take us a couple of years to get to that point. By the end of the year, it's a final tally. So we'll be able to.
Yeah, I understand. I was just wondering, like attendance levels this September to last September.
Yeah, we just met last week. I don't have the final numbers with me, but for the first month, we're off to a good start, but we have some holdovers from even COVID years that still just have not returned to full functioning, coming to school every day. So we're still dealing with those really chronic issues. Chronic's like 10 or more days out. Really chronic is missing 50% of the school year. So we're still dealing with a handful of students right away now in September that are already struggling, but they've been struggling for the past 3 years.
Are there any truancy trends that you see that the district can help with? I think of transportation, those kind of things. Do you see things that could change in that regard or more specific family need?
Yeah, not at the moment. Like I said, I still think we're dealing with this. We all struggled 3 years ago. Families, I think there's mental health going on, and I really believe that the way around truancy is building connections and relationships at school. If kids want to come to school, they're not going to be truant. So that's our focus right now. The trends are difficult because it's so individualized. I mean, I've got a student we're a month in, hasn't attended once. We're working with the county, we're working with family. Those are the ones I worry about the most, are those really challenging situations. But day to day, we're seeing kids show up better so far. That's a trend. But again, it's because of some significant shifts we've made right away with that Spartans. I'm hoping that continues though. Yeah.
Well, thank you. I mean, thank you guys for doing everything that you can. I know that you guys are trying real hard. And I appreciate you being very honest with the challenges. And then it seems like you have a good plan in place and in response to that. So thank you very much.
No problem.
Thank you.
Thanks, Eric.
Thanks, Aaron.
Right, one action item. And so I have my board here, annual request. Do you want to share with them a little bit about what that is?
Sure. We're getting started for the 2025 spring break. 15 months plus gives parents lots of time to pay for the trip. We've had really super good turnout the past couple of years. And it seemed the 2024 trip, I think there's 2 spots left in that one. So it's went really well, and I'd ask that you approve it. Any questions?
I need a motion.
Yeah.
Motion to approve the overnight.
Second.
There's a motion and a second, then is there any discussion? Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Coming.
That is the conclusion of my report.
So next up, we'll move to our committee agendas. First up is the Operations Committee. Glenn?
All right, thank you, President Olson. Operations Committee tonight has no action items. We have no discussion items. We have one informational item. That is a department update from our Director of Food Services, Jamie Wilson.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Hi, everybody.
Oh,
I'm Jamie Wilson, Director of Food Service.
you know what?
It'd be a short.
We never got that homemade pizza. last
Yeah. We started. That's how you do this to me, right?
Are you in the middle of it?
Yeah.
Oh.
Help me in. Okay. Slide one. I'm not gonna be as short and sweet as the principals, okay? So Director of Food Service, Jamie Wilson, this is the start of my 9th year. Really lucky to have the greatest job in the district. I feed kids and that's our mission and that's what we do every day. Every picture in the slideshow is from our district, what we cook, what we prepare, and our team. We serve 4,500 to 5,000 meals and snacks every school day. Consistently about 1 million meals a year. We just did numbers from last year, 943,000. We get to call that 1 million. Okay. 40 positions, 9 full-time benefited position, 5 are year-round positions. Year-round benefited, vacation. We run our programs year-round and our staff was not year-round staff in the past. And we moved a handful of our managers that work year-round to those full-time positions. And what that's done, I think it's just helped show them that they're part of the team and that they're appreciated. And that they're the same as the rest of the full-time staff here. It's helped us recruit better and I think it helps with our wages also. We have 29 part-time staff, majority just under 30 hours a week. They work Monday through Friday days. Very competitive food service wages. We've updated our food service wages. We have 1 sub, currently have 3 vacant positions, but we're doing pretty well. Those 3 vacant positions don't feel like that's where we always are. Feels like there's 30 super solid staff that stick with us. We have a revolving door of about 8 to 10. And that to me in food service doesn't seem like a problem. It's just something we are dealing with. We're always looking for good staff. Our school breakfast program is free at all 8 of our schools for all enrolled students. They walk in the door and they can choose a free breakfast. Our breakfast participation for 22 and 23 is at 42%. 42% of our kids who walk in the door every day eat breakfast with us. 49, so just below 50 at the elementary school, and we do lose them at the high school, but we're doing pretty good there. We started opening the doors a little earlier at the middle school. We're seeing about 60 extra meals every single day at that middle school from 7:15 to 7:30 when they used to open. Aaron's been great. We've had some great conversations about that, about how we can get kids in to eat before and after school. I mean, both of those numbers have increased. All our breakfast, all our food options are 100% whole grain, 100% fruit juices, low fat milk, cheese and yogurt. That's a requirement by the USDA that we operate under. This one's really cool. I love the numbers and what we can do. Over 65% of our students eat school lunch every single day. We have a really great start to 23-24. 65 of 100 kids every day eat our lunch. I think that says a lot. I know enrollment is going down and that concerns everybody because of the budget, but our participation percentage is increasing every year. All right. And that's the one we hold to. 65%, 434 lunches we served last year. Why the increase? I have a couple of ideas, but I'm hoping through this after we're done here that you'll see why our kids eat with us. These are all our meals. Last fall, we took and just went crazy with some new recipes. And this is everything we serve in our kitchen. We got a burrito bowl that our kids think is from Qdoba. I got a crispy macaroni and cheese, We spent some time trying to perfect a school pizza. I wasn't happy with what we were serving. A school pizza should taste good, not be soggy, not be brown on the top and not cooked on the bottom. How do we do this? And we made an investment in time and money and equipment, and I think we cooked a very good school pizza. Someday I'll bring some in. I know how many people are gonna be here. That's Monday night, I'll bring.
a meeting next week too.
That one's not as.
There's just a lot. These are all the options we tried at the high school to change some things up. Some go really well from day one. Some take a couple weeks to, for it to go. But, kale salad, black bean salsa, our homemade meatloaf. The other two went well. The meatloaf, we can't get kids to eat that. I don't know. Things have changed a bit, but, that one's already.
Either.
Yeah.
They don't at home either.
I know.
Yeah, you're right.
They don't
You're
eat
right.
at home,
You're right.
They do at my home, they don't eat it.
More pictures of what we do, breakfast and lunch. We have a great relationship. We've really pushed hard on the local produce. A few years ago, I thought that local produce was something that didn't exist in Duluth-Superior. You know, the growing season is like 3 days, right? So I really started to hit the farm markets on the weekends and see who I could have conversations with. And it's just starting to pay off. So we had this great relationship with Bayfield Co-op, and I told some of the farmers that, and we ended up making some other relationships. I got 800 pounds of frozen blueberries this year from Highland Valley Farms, right outside of Bayfield. So when they're done with their picking season, they hire people to go in and clean up the plants, and they put them in boxes and they sell those boxes. And I told them I'd take 80 right off the top. This is the second year we've been able to do that. And I told them, whatever you have left, we'll take it all after you've sold it to local businesses. And that has made that local berry farm just say, if you can, we can count on this. They make some extra money. They know they can plant more. They know they can produce more. So it's really helped them and us. This Brule River Farms, I am so excited about what we've been able to do. They were somebody I would see at the farmer's market, and they said, we just can't do what you need us to do. And I don't want to say I kept bugging them, but I kept bugging them. I'm kind of relentless, okay? And I said, whatever you have left at the end of the year, we'll take it. Or if you feel like it's not, dare I say, good enough for the market, we have a use for it. I know we do. We cook product. If it doesn't look like it should be out in the front on the serving line and serve to kids, we'll find a way to use it. And they didn't believe me, and they called me up and they said, I got, I don't know, 400 pounds of potatoes, and they'll last till March. And I said, okay, but you're going to store them. And they bring them to us, and we serve our potatoes in our middle school and high school. We've made some homemade, like thick cut fries, baked potato bars. But this last August, they called me and they said, we got 150 watermelons, and they're pink and they're orange and they're yellow. And I don't know if you've ever seen a yellow watermelon, but this thing cuts and that drips down your arm, and the kids think it's the coolest thing, and it tastes like candy. And we were able to get it in 8 schools. 150 watermelons is a lot of watermelon. They were asking for more. They said, could you take the seeds out for us? And at Duluth-Superior, they took the seeds out for them. I did not tell them they had to. We got plums from them. We'll have squash from them through the end of the fall. And like I said, potatoes and onions we'll probably use. They store them until March. They called me last week and they said, I got 300 pounds of tomatoes. And I said, I'll take them. And I went to the kitchen and I said, I got this idea. And they look at me when I say that. They don't roll their eyes at me, but I can feel like they're rolling their eyes at me. So I said, we're going to make some homemade tomato soup. Last Tuesday, we brought them in. My staff looked at them. They figured out how to do it. I gave them a recipe. We'll be serving that homemade roasted tomato and basil soup to our high school students. Hopefully, we have enough for about 160 to 180 with a grilled cheese sandwich on our lunchtime tomorrow. And it was so fun. And my team did challenge, and they're like part of it. And I don't know, it's just a lot of fun to do. And what's more fun than making it and putting it together is putting on that line and serving them the yellow watermelon or the homemade tomato soup or anything of quality that we've like put some time into it and some thought, right? That's every day. Our menus, we think that way. And we don't care if they appreciate it. That's not our goal, but our goal is to provide them the best quality product we can every day. And they don't need to know that, but they need to know that's how we show them that we support them and care for them. After school meals, we have free after school meals at our middle school and high school. This is going really well, and it always has. It's an opportunity for kids to grab something to eat. It's intended for students who are staying on property and doing something. We don't ask kids, are you staying here? Are you going home? We feed them. When they come through our line, that's what we do in all our lines. We feed kids who come through the line. We serve Domino's pizza. It's the only time we do. And kids like it. They grab it and they get out of there and they go to football or they go to DECA or they go to whatever club or organization they belong in. Like I said, 450 meals a day, handheld, easy to eat, sandwiches, pizza, things like that. Everything else we do a summer meal program. We have in 5 schools this last year, 15 sites. We have a food service van that goes out to Bartley Manor and Lakeside Terrace and Aspen Court. We feel like we're in the park and recs program, so 6 city parks. We feel like we're in every little pocket of the community we can be in. And we just go serve meals, serve lunch every day, get as many staff out as we can and use as many community staff as we can to do that. We operate concessions at our football games. We've changed some things how we do that. Football, volleyball, and basketball is what we support. Our concessions do really well, and we were able to give some bumps in rate or in hourly wages for that. And it's not a $10 an hour position. We pay our staff what we think they're worth for that. And what it's done is our staff that wants to be there is there and they get paid well. And these are the staff that come from our elementaries, our middle school and our high school. And they get to see the kids that they served years ago at the elementary school or that they see in school every day. And they see them on the football field or they see the band, kids in the band that my team really loves being able to support them that way. Catered events, we do salute to service, in-service breakfast and lunches, a lot of small events throughout the school year, a la carte, all these things that kids spend their money on, whether they're in school or not in school. We sell baked chips, low-calorie drinks, those kind of things at our middle school and high school. All of these extra funds that don't fall in our breakfast, lunch, and after-school meals program, all the money we make on that goes back to support that free breakfast for all students in all schools, because that is paid out of our department, okay? Our strengths, customer service, student focus. It's something we really talk about a lot. We have training on it. We bring people in. It's all about our customer, and our customer is the student or the family, right? We have a very committed staff. A large number of our staff have 5+ years, many with 10+. I got somebody who's got 36 and somebody who's got 38 years. They just really love what they do. We have super strong participation, as I told you, super stable budget in our world. Our budget does not come out of Fund 10, does not come out of the regular school district budget. It comes out of Fund 50. We are required to be self-supporting. The money that comes in feeds or pays for our food product, pays our labor, pays all our benefits. Everything comes out of the food service budget. We do pretty well with that. And with that, we're able to fund competitive wages, replace equipment that's been around for a long time, get a pizza oven that can cook a quality product, those kind of things. We have a super strong social media presence. Follow us on Facebook and Instagram. We just started Instagram. We are super excited about that. We have a decent amount of followers. I think we have like 1,200 for what we do. That's where our most current information is. We get feedback, we get support. What we found is if there's any negative comments out there is either our families or the community come to our support. We just sit back and we don't say a whole lot. We let what we do speak for itself, and usually families, and community members will support us, and the negativity on our social media page does not last long. We have strong admin support, all levels in every school. They know that we're there to support them. And I've talked to colleagues of mine all through the state, and I really believe that support is why we are so successful. And we get that support. All we have to do is ask for something or be asked of something. It's just a constant give and take. And I just really feel like that's super important. From our principals, from everybody here at this office, all the way around, we get a lot of support. And even if it's just, hey, your staff did this. Hey, we're going to include them in this. They're just, our team feels super included in the whole environment here at the school district. Tech skills used to be a super big roadblock for our team. I don't want to tell you they're good, but we conduct weekly virtual meetings. They know how to use email. They're required to be on it. It was a roadblock for a long time, and it took a long time to get where we're at, but they all know how to use their computers and the programs and things that are offered through the district. Like I said, I think we have community trust. That's our strength. Our families know we are here for their students' best interest. We have this great partnership with Lakes Foods. They do a ton for us. We go out for bid every year. They are very competitive. They have helped us through supply chain issues. They help us with storage of issues. When we had a freezer go down this last weekend, our largest freezer, we had about 600 cases of food and we had to move fast, and it happens on a Friday night. And they help us out with things like that. They also point us in the direction for local food sources. We're looking at some meat through them that comes out of local ranchers in the Twin Cities area. What else do? We continue to update that older and efficient equipment that uses less water, gas, and electricity. We increase benefited positions. We do specific team building leadership training. We're on a 4-course leadership training with our team right now that we just got on 3 of 4 on Friday. Why does my whole team need leadership? Because they ask for it. They want to know how to be leaders in their school, not just in their kitchens. They want to be part of, they want to be seen as professional. They want to have professional development also. And so we give them what they need. So bad, Russ? That's us. Any questions?
Great job.
Nice, man.
We always appreciate your passion for.
Oh, there's passion. I don't want you to get tired of it. We got a lot of new bodies, so I figured we'll start from scratch.
And your menus, like.
How? Oh, yeah. That's a tough, well, that one is just, I got a great staff. Menu planning is going on all the time. Some things work, some things don't. We go on a 4-week cycle trying to introduce things. What kids tell us what they want. I have this great feedback. At one time, I had 3 kids in school at 3 different. You get them at a table or in your back seat. Kids offer feedback. I don't know if they do in your world, but we don't have to ask for it. It doesn't go far. They tell us what they want. They give us ideas. They tell us more what we don't want. We just listen to them.
Yeah.
Right? And if we don't, they don't come through a line.
Yeah.
Jamie doesn't like it when I remind people of this, but he is our food service director of the year for Wisconsin. But you have a strong team and a lot that has a lot to do with your leadership, and you do a great job. So
Thank you.
it comes through in your presentation and your pictures for sure.
Can we be done now?
Yes.
All right.
Thanks, Jamie.
Thank you.
All right, are there any other matters that could be brought before the committee tonight? And then that concludes the operations committee's report.
Thank you. I'd suggest as we do our school visits and stuff that we stop by each one of the kitchens and
Yeah.
Give him a thank you.
pat them back.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll get that piece of food.
Yeah. Buy at the high school.
I know a couple of people. Sorry.
You're saying things better than it's not how much.
Next up is our Teaching and Learning Committee. Mr. Schumacher.
All right, no action, no discussion items. Information items, Kate Tesh, Director of Continuous Improvement and Assessment, update on fall benchmark assessments, optional ACT for juniors, and September 29th Staff Development Day.
Kate Tesh, Director of Continuous Improvement and Assessment. I haven't given you an update in a while, so I wanted to kind of pack a few things in here. The first thing that we actually finished, which isn't on the agenda, I just wanted to point out on our district website, under our strategic plan, if you scroll all the way to the bottom, We have all of our schools' continuous improvement plan goals on this document. It's a really nice reference tool. We use it all the time to kind of keep track of who's doing what in our office. And I thought it might be helpful to you as you kind of think about what schools and what goal areas there are. They're all listed there. And then below this document are links to each. Just click on one and if you want to, just for a demonstration. We put together, with the help of Casey Smith, helped me kind of put a school profile. We did this last year. We had a 2-page profile last year. We condensed it to a 1-page profile this year. A little bit of data on enrollment, attendance, and then the school goals along with what the buildings are each proud of. So I think it's a really nice visual for
The teacher leadership teams are the ones that came up with those details, right?
they're proud of and their goal statements, and then you can see our activity statements. So we have one of those for each building, and I just went live today on the site. So I wanted to make sure you knew that those are there and you could check those out. So that was not an agenda item, but I wanted to add that on there. So back to the fall benchmark update. We just, as the principals have mentioned, last Thursday, we wrapped up the first benchmark period. So we always benchmark. Well, child check, I think, is a really nice reference to what we do with our fall benchmark data, where we now are using FastBridge as our assessment tool we use for math and reading, kindergarten through 8th grade. So this was the first year the middle school also utilized that tool. So now we have really a nice flow of data from kindergarten through 8th grade. Middle school teachers were able to see some scores from 5th grade, and it translated really nice as we were doing some staff development there. So last Thursday was the kind of end of that 3-week window. We kind of open up a 3-week window for teachers to make their schedules and figure out that piece at their buildings. And then what worked really nice this year was that we built into the calendar last year a staff development day on September 29th. So it was very timely then for teachers and buildings to come together and look at their fall data. So it was very helpful. In the past, we waited until the end of October. We've had this whole month now where that data isn't super relevant anymore because kids have already learned and grown in that month. So it was really helpful. Not only did buildings use that information to kind of look at their continuous improvement plans, but teachers use that information to plan their professional goals for the year. As part of their evaluation system. So we had a packed day at all the schools last Friday. And I received pretty good feedback that it was a really purposeful day and people had time to take care of analyzing that data that they haven't typically had in the past. So that I feel had some real success. And then that third bullet, additionally this year, so all of my big reports are coming in the next 2 months. School reports are being preliminarily released in the next week. And then I will share that when it becomes public with you. I'll do a report on all the school report cards. And in addition to that, our state assessment data, we've had access to it, but it hasn't been released publicly. And the DPI just set a date on that for October 10th. So as soon as that becomes released publicly, I'll give you an overview of not only our data, but how it compares to the state of Wisconsin as well, which informs the school report cards. So this, typically I talk a little bit about the ACT in the spring. The ACT is our state assessment for all juniors in Wisconsin. You don't have it's not just optional if you want to take it. So that's our state assessment. We've been working really hard at that level to give kids opportunities to be successful on that assessment for them and for our district assessment scores so that it translates. This fall, the state offered us an opportunity to give the ACT as a district assessment in the fall as an optional opportunity. So I've worked hard to, I think we have about 65 students signed up for the optional ACT this fall. And I think it will be a very good experience for them to take it, experience it, study at a reduced cost. So there was a reduced fee to us as a district, and I used some of my budget to cover it. So the fee, if the kids take it on a Saturday, it's now $93. If they take it on October 18th, it will be $30 at most, depending on their status. So I'm excited for the opportunity for kids to experience it. We've met a couple times. I'm meeting with them tomorrow during advisory to give them some more practice opportunities, get them involved in their My ACT portal. So hopefully most often as kids walk out of the ACT in the spring, they think they were prepared. And the experience of sitting and thinking for that long of a period, it's not so much the content, it's the like keeping yourself going is often the response I hear. Oh, that's just really hard to keep going. So the practice, I'm hopeful for kids that this will be a benefit to them and ultimately to us too. So that's a new thing we're doing this year. Any questions on it?
So it's optional.
It is
right?
optional.
And then can they be taken in the spring again?
They have to, it is a requirement, so I did put that kind of in the sign up that the spring is required, this is optional. If they, for themselves personally, however, they can choose whichever score is better to
Okay.
use for scholarships, so it won't harm them if
Okay.
they score better now than in the spring. So yeah, the score is theirs and it is a real ACT score that is in their ACT account.
Awesome.
So, Amy, correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't a couple of the schools, I don't have my notes in front of me, say that the fast bridge testing went much smoother?
Second year round felt
Yeah,
better.
yeah, much more familiar with it. So they said that was really nice. This year.
Yes, the platform, the technology aspect of it works really well and it makes my job a lot easier. And as we've been analyzing just Friday and we've got a few kids still finishing up, we are seeing comparatively to last year's group, so not the same kids, but if you analyze our first grade data from fall of last year to our first grade data from fall of this year, different kids, same time frame in the year, we have seen growth at every grade level with kids coming in. So they're scoring more proficient than they did last fall at this time. Again, different cohort of kids, so you can look at that two different ways, but
I used to use Ames Web, but I think one of the reasons we switched to FastBridge is it's a better predictor probably of how students are going to perform on the forward exam. It gives us better data.
I would say most principals saw a very direct correlation to their FastBridge percentiles to the forward exam. So if we're honest with what it's showing us and we think it's valid, we're able to plan much better for it.
And then we use those for our school goals. So we don't have to wait until we get our forward data a year later. We can see how well we're progressing on those school goals throughout the year. So.
Is handy. And then it also has our progress monitoring tool too.
I see we've got conferences coming up in a number of the schools. So the fall data that they worked on last Friday, that gives teachers an opportunity to have conversation with parents. They could have some information from FastBridge already.
Yep.
Okay.
And I think what's really important, and every building tackles that a little differently, but I think what's really important is to remember about any test. It's one data point on one day on one snapshot. And I always say, I don't want to be assessed on my worst day in the worst moment in that day. So it is really, it's important, but it's also, if it doesn't tell the true story of a kid, we need to have we need to see the whole picture, and teachers, that's what makes them so amazing is they can see the whole child, and whether this data point fits or not, we have other data to show trends. So, but it is, very impressed. Teachers did an amazing job, especially at the K1 level. Those are all one-on-one assessments. And it takes a long time to do that when kids are still learning routines in classrooms. So they've done an impressive job. Really impressed. So, any other questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other matters to be brought before the committee? Hearing none.
Nick wants to talk more about something. No.
You don't worry, sure. Thank you. Our next committee report is our budget and insurance committee. Mr. Gallagher.
All right, we have one action item, gifts, grants, bequests. Administration recommends approval to accept gifts, grants, bequests received in September of 2023. There they are up on the screen.
Proof. Second.
Okay. A motion is second. Any discussion on that?
So the lacrosse, no, they have said what they were going to do. Now, where is there a special fund then that this is going into at the high school, or is this money that goes
Activity.
to Fund 10?
The activity fund, that's what they have been using and fundraised as a community group in the past, that they said that they would donate with that. And that will help in our department. It helps buy the uniforms, extra equipment.
So
So it's going into the boys lacrosse budget.
One
One's for girls, one's for boys.
For boys, okay.
Yeah.
Well, there's girls, okay.
Any other discussion on that? Anybody? Other discussion, all those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Passed. All right, we have a discussion item, preliminary 2023-2024 third Friday enrollment presentation by David C.
Got a little bit of a weak throat tonight, so hopefully I make it through here. First of all, we've been having listening sessions at various schools for the past couple of weeks. And one thing that I need to improve upon when I was out there is everything's gonna be okay. So when I go over all this stuff, everything's gonna be all right. It's gonna be challenging, but it's gonna be all right. So just this past 2 weeks ago, September 15th, we had our third Friday count. So I call it the third Friday count because it's the third Friday of every September. It counts the residents that have been enrolled, other students that are eligible. Why this number is really important is it's determines the funding for the schools for the revenue limit. And the revenue limit gives us over 70% of the revenue that we bring in as a school district. One thing when you're going out there and we're doing counts, we're out there counting kids in the school. That's what we call a head count. The head count is only part of what the count is used for the revenue limit. The other part, or the part that we use, is membership or slash FTE. So that takes into consideration open enrollment and various other things. So the count itself is done by the secretaries in each of the schools. Most of them have been around for a long time. They do a really good job at it. And then the IT department kind of takes the lead on that part. Casey Smith does a really good job of compiling the numbers and making sure that we're counting all the kids. Every single day last week, I'd go to Casey's office and say, "Did you find me another one?" Even on the last day of school that we had last Thursday, she found one more. So why is it important? The state controls our revenue through that revenue limit, like I said. And the formula creates an inverse relationship between equalization aid and the tax levy. So as equalization aid goes down or doesn't keep up with what the revenue limit goes up, the tax levy is going to go up. And it's driven by a resident enrollment. So even though you're not in the school, we're still going to count you, because we're not going to count an open enrolled kid that comes into our district because they don't count. The other district gets to count them. But we get to count the kids that open enroll out. And then we have to get those districts that are on where the state takes a chunk of our money. So our results. So like I said, this is where the numbers were a little worse than even I was hoping. So the big number first, I want you to look at this, is right here, 4021. That's how many kids were in school, 4,021. You go over here and look, there's 421 sitting right here. Last year we had 4,158. The year before that, 4,193. Before that, 4,292. We are in declining enrollment. And that's going to affect our budget significantly. One thing I do want to see or show that is a good thing is last year we had 202 kids that open enrolled out. This year we have 179 kids that open enrolled out. So we're made a good trend in that direction. The other part I really like to see is this open enrolled in. We have 23 back in 2020. We're up to 50. So we've jumped 100% over the last 4 years. That's huge. I don't anticipate we're going to keep up with that trend of 100% in another 4 years, but that means we're making a difference and people are seeing what the school district does and are looking into it. So this is just a graph of what our enrollment looks like. As you can see, it's just the slow slope down. We had 4,629 kids we counted in 2018, and this year, again, 4,021. But the biggest thing I want to emphasize is we are not alone. Again, this is another illustration of our enrollment. We are the blue bars. That black line is the state. State enrollment is falling, and it's falling in 75% of the districts out there. When I looked into it, this is the first time that deaths have exceeded births. They're just not getting new kids. One of the big things, or the big driver when I look at it, is last year we graduated 314 kids. It's a big class to graduate. Not in history, but we have 237 kindergartners. That's right there. You lose those 77 kids, you've lost it. Because you graduated so many more than what you brought in. If you guys know, I call them the 5th grade class. They're right now in 10th grade. The reason I'm calling them the 5th grade class is that was the year I started here. And they are huge and they're active. They are quite the class. That will probably be the last class we have that has more than 300 kids.
Sure.
That's just the trend. So the elementaries is already seeing it. They're seeing the cut and kids. High school is going to see it now coming up because those are ones keep. This is a cool diagram I like to show is if you look at that map right now, see how nice and light colored it is? What this is, it shows districts that are decline or whether their enrollment's going up or down. And as you see, it started light and it gets darker. The darker it is, the more we're declining. You're going to see those little yellow pockets. Those are those little suburbs that are pulling in kids all over the place. And we did good for a while. We're getting darker and darker. And by the time we get to 21, 22, we are the second darkest color. So that means we're losing 10 to 20%. I really like this visual because you can just see how the whole state of Wisconsin is going through that.
One thing I think that you pointed out the other night in one of the schools, I'd never heard you say, or I'd never heard this term, but border locked, I think is what you said. And that is interesting because the lighter ones typically can pull from other Wisconsin areas. We can't because we're right on that border with Minnesota.
So that's my theory. We've been open up to Duluth.
Yeah. Yeah, good slide.
But what happens is we're the big district, so
Yep.
the little ones are siphoning off, and the only reason is it's not like we can siphon off a lot of kids from Maple. Maple doesn't have that many. So, we'll jump back because the open enrollment one, the numbers that every time I've been here and heard the discussion about enrollment, the number one thing that I always wondered is where are they going? So of those 179 kids that we had open enroll out, 81 of them are going to online schools. 75 went to Maple and 23 went to Solon. When the 23 to Solon was a jump, that went from 10 to 23. I'm sure you guys all know why that happened. So, and all it takes is one or two big families to make a huge difference. I've also heard like high school, there was a family that had 8 kids and they moved out of the area. That hurts. So
if they go to Cathedral or a private school, that doesn't count. That's just if they're open enrollment.
Projected enrollment. So this is projected enrollment for the state. And we were following the state line. We'll have more enrollment projections for the Superior School District, but this again just shows it's projecting to go down, and it's just a matter of that's where we're at as a state. We just don't have as many kids that are going to school anymore. So what's next? The big things that I want to roll out, or I think that are important out there, is first of all, I want to formalize processes of surveying the families that leave the district. Why did somebody go to Maple? I'm sure we won't get every single response, but I think we'll get some. And if we can figure out ways that, hey, this kid left for such and such a reason, we can find ways to make that better. Maybe we can't get that kid back. Maybe we can stop the next kid from doing it. The next continued focus on the public relations. David Coy's been doing an amazing job of getting stuff out there, getting the good stories out there. I know previously the last, 3 or 4 years or 2 or 3 years ago, even you'd never seen anything good about Superior. It was always somebody going nuts and making, these high, accusations of Superior. Now we constantly have videos out there. Kids like being involved. Maybe we'll get more kids that, hey, they don't want to leave because of that. We are planning for a district-wide budget meeting tentatively in November. I want to get past this year's budget. So, and then I want to take like 3 days off. So then we're going to go, and I think we're going to have it at the PAC. We're going to have it at a large place where it's open to everybody in the district. We want to keep people informed. We want to try and be transparent.
That is specific for staff, and then we'll have to figure out what kind of communication we'll want to share with families. The message might need to look and feel a little bit different just so that they understand.
We need to develop a long-term strategic financial plan that will ensure the financial health of the district. I am big on, I don't like working on next year's stuff. I like working on in 3, 4, 5, 6 years in front of us. It's hard with a district where we go to the biennium where we don't know our revenue until every 2 years. We don't know it until 3 months after the school year had started, but we should have a good handle on our expenses. 80% of our expenses are coming down to salary and benefits. They're hard to manage as far as, especially on the benefit side, but we have to be able to look at those and create scenarios. We do have some programs that give us the ability to do that and look at it. And the biggest thing I think for me personally is we need everyone's help, support, and input. That isn't just the board, that's staff, that's students, that's everybody. We are going to be transparent. Amy and I cannot create a budget that is going to be successful. We need everybody to play a part in this, because if we don't, it's going to be really difficult to get to where we need to be. So I think I'm going to be pushing out constantly. I want to be transparent. There's nothing to hide. If you guys want to see the budget, this is what the budget is. Finally, everything will be okay. It's going to be a challenge. We will succeed. Peter's been here for a long time. We'll be here a long time after this. So
I am so excited to hear about the survey for families. I know when I got elected shortly after, I kind of had asked that question. We know where they're going, but do we know why? And if we know why and there's a trend that we can fix, then maybe that will help keep people here. So I'm super excited that you're doing it.
Discussions with Crystal actually about those 81 kids going to online programs. We have an online program.
Sure.
Yes.
Yes.
Not want to.
Program. Yep.
And we don't want to advertise that to kids that are in person, but maybe we reach out to those kids, those high school kids.
Absolutely.
You know what? Crystal even told me, I didn't know this. They get to walk with everybody.
Yes.
They can be Spartans to the end, even if they're online students. So we really think, and that's something maybe cool you can put together for us to do.
That's. So thank you.
Any other questions?
It was very comprehensive.
Sweet. Yeah. I made it through the whole thing.
Thanks, Dave.
Thank you.
You want to talk about the next bullet item on the
Yeah.
agenda?
You got a few, I think.
No. Oh, okay. So this is the weird thing about the budgets. This transfers of service, the equalization aid, property valuation, levy, all that stuff comes out like on October 15th. I'm going to give you a heads up. Equalization property value is the state tells us how much all our property is worth in this district. Yeah, it will to 18%. So we're at $4,300,000,000. What that means is that's how much they assess the property. So that's how we're going to define how we spread that levy out to all the townships. So of that, I think it was 80% is Superior. So the city of Superior is 3 billion of that. So they're going to have 80% of the tax levy when we have that number straight out there. Yeah, and then I'll give you updated information on the levy stuff. And then of course, the stuff will be published in the paper. I think we're probably going to do it around the 20th and probably the 27th. And the 15th, it'll be posted on the website, library, the post office, wherever the place can. Puts that stuff up, so.
And then we've got our budget hearing scheduled for October 30th, and which is in conjunction with our November cow. So that's when David will share and ask you to approve the budget for this school year so that we can start working on next school year's budget. Yeah. After he takes 3 days off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, you want to say admin expenditure?
Just the revenue expenditures are still an ongoing thing because it's part of the budget side of it. I'm sure you guys have seen it's been jumping up every month, so we're getting close. The revenue side of it is there's going to be change in that due to accounts we just had and it came in a little anticipated. Doesn't really affect our main revenue limit stuff because we have decline enrollment exemptions. So it will affect our category A, which is per student funding.
Anybody got any other matters? No, that concludes it.
So what I'm thinking, Nick, you and I had a conversation the other day. Ed's in charge of 2 groups already, and this is the group that I thinking of putting Jen in charge for. Okay.
I'm okay with that.
Are you okay with that? I thought you would be because I surprised you last meeting. All right, next up, Brooke, with our Personnel and Negotiations Committee.
All right, I have one action item. Administration recommends approval of the October 2023 new hires and separations report.
Motion to approve.
Pull it up there real quick just to, perfect. Seems like it's getting smaller, so that's good. That's settling in. All right, I have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion?
Molly, where we deficit anywhere, we're good. We're running full strength.
Not full strength, yes. I would say the biggest deficit right now is library assistant positions. So we have 3 of those open. But we have still one at library. So that's been a tough one, so.
Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. I have no discussion items and no informational items. So that ends my report, Mr. President.
Thank you. Next up, Mr. Gallagher again with our Policies and Rules Committee.
All right. Couple action items. Administration proposes the approval of changes to the following policies based on Neola recommendations in order to be in compliance with state and federal law. Updates, take each one at a time. The first one, do the first reading of policy 2210, curriculum development.
Motion to accept.
Second.
Motion is second.
Can I share a little bit of background?
Yes, you can.
Crystal can speak a little bit more to this, but this is not new practice. Statutes have changed over the last several years, so this is just bringing our policy in line with the requirements that are in our legislation that we're required to incorporate into our curriculum. So do you want to just give an example of what that looks like?
Yeah, actually in J through Q, kind of the list of the specific things that are all in state statute that we're required to add into our curriculum. The newest one was required to have it been implemented by July of 21. So none of these are new things. For example, the foreign language one has been there since, 1996. Act 31, which is which actually was already in there, that, began in 1991. So as state statutes go into place and then we are directed, usually immediately, to add that into our curriculum, even if it's in the middle of a school year. Sometimes it's you have until July of 21, like of the next school year or something, to figure out how you're going to implement that. We get those directives immediately to add those things in. So this
policy is just catching up.
Catching up on the things that already are in practice. All of those things, I was already part of it, but all of those things, J through Q, are aligned to specific state statutes that were already requirements.
So my curiosity, do you know why L is the only one that says provide access instead of just provide regular instruction?
I do not know why, but I will tell you my guess on why that is. Some of those things are often aligned more with elective courses. So while we're required to provide students with access to vocational education, which is kind of the outdated term for tech ed courses, oftentimes in high schools, most of those courses are electives. So I'm guessing the X just must have access to, not required to, leaves it a little more open for districts to decide how they want to do that. That's my guess.
Or students can decide how they want
to be available.
It just has to be available.
Yeah. So our district policy around what's required for graduation includes all of those things, except specifically vocational education, where we don't require a specific credit in that.
So saying that vocational education, should we be changing that verbiage then to reflect?
We could, the state statute still says
vocation.
Leave it. Leave it that
I know people are like, what does that mean?
Right.
It's just quite an
VOTEC,
outdated term for tech ed.
the old VOTEC.
Yeah, so the state statute still names it as vocational education. I guess my recommendation would be to make it match the state statute, but
I think we should leave it.
yeah.
Yeah.
Anybody else have any discussion on this policy? Anybody else? Oh, okay. Other discussion? All those in favor of this policy, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, passes. The next one is first reading of policy 3121, criminal history record check. Well, staff.
Motion to accept?
Second.
Second, any discussion?
I just want to point out that both policy 3121 and 4121 are consistent with the policies you approved last month for administrators. It's the same language.
Any discussion on 3121? Any no discussion, all those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes. First reading of policy 4121, criminal history record check for support staff.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Motion is second. Any discussion on this one? Hearing no discussion, all those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That passes. And the last policy, second reading of policy 142.5, vacancies.
Motion to accept?
Second.
Motion is second. Any discussion?
Steve, you want to talk about that?
Yeah, so letter E, we've had discussion last couple times about perhaps adding a letter. So this is the verbiage that I added, and then we've had these late turnovers and stuff. So how long? Some express concern, that do we cut it off at 6 months, the full term? So I think it's important for us as a group to talk about if we want something like that in this policy, and then if there's more parameters that you want to put around it.
It would not be approved tonight. So if you have recommendations, we can bring them. It would be official next week if you want to move this forward. This isn't a requirement. This is optional. It just gives you an option if this is what you want.
I think being it says in the year, that gives more options. If that did happen and occur, then we can choose whether to use any of them, but
Like you could,
a little bit more.
Yeah.
My only take on A through E, it seems like there's two options: to appoint or not to appoint. I almost feel like it should be A, then sub, and then B.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, sure.
Because that looks like we have 5 options. We really just have 2 options.
if you appoint, you use B through D to do that.
Right. So I'd almost want to change that to be A, then 3 subs under A, and then just B for your condition. Yeah, my suggestion.
Sure.
Somebody thinks differently. Brilliant.
Same thing.
Thanks, Nick.
So would they be subs 1, 2, 3? Bullet
Probably put in there like one
points.
numeral, like letter I, letter 2, whatever comes, she'll do an indent so that it's connected to A. So there'll be A and B with the indentation for under A.
And then again, all the statute talk is right out of Wisconsin statutes. That brings us into a full circle back to what will be A or B. So with that, is there any other discussion on this policy?
We won't have to use it often. Never again. I like that.
Any other discussion? All right. All those in favor of those changes, signify by saying
Aye.
aye. Any opposed? Carries. And then no discussion items, no informational items, any other matters under the policy and rules committee? Anyone? That concludes my committee.
Thank you, Mr. Gallagher. I see we did not have a legislative report from WASB.
Wasn't really anything significant to bring forward.
Take a big breath there, Diana.
Relieved.
All right. I'd just like to remind the board, we have a very busy month.
Actually, about the next 6 weeks.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really goes through November 13th and stuff. So a regular board meeting next Monday. We have some commitments on the 16th, 17th. We're middle school for the boundary information presented by the company. And then at the high school on the 17th, and those start at 6 o'clock. We are invited to attend those, and I hope that you all can find time to be there. We do have our WASB event on October 18th. We have a number of school visits going on. We have listening sessions going on. So I really thank you for your time and commitment that you're taking to perform our duties for our community and our schools. With that, this meeting is concluded. Thank you.
Thank you.